Before starting the video, I would like you to subscribe, that would help me a lot, thank you. MUZAN is cold-hearted, ruthless, intimidating, and exceptionally intelligent. He sees no value in any humans he has encountered and shows little value in his own subordinates. Rarely ever visibly upset or happy, he appears completely monotone and detached on most occasions, even when he callously murders his own subordinates. The only times he ever shows emotion are when his vision of perfection is moving forward or when he has subordinates completely submit to his will. The manga shows him to be more expressive, particularly when enraged, and his facial features are exaggerated to demonstrate as such, possibly as a way to display his normally unreadable emotions. In the anime, his expressions change slightly and his tone of voice tends to be consistent at nearly all times, accentuating his monotonous demeanor. His cruel and imposing nature has gained him the great admiration and fear of many demons. His inflated ego and delusional sense of self-worth are so large, he cannot stand being mocked or corrected in any fashion, believing that others only exist to serve him. This also means he rarely ever takes any opponent or threat seriously. He brutally killed a drunk man simply for being rude to him and killed the man's brother and a female companion when they had done nothing, all while proclaiming of his own perfection and superiority over them, displaying his shrewd pettiness as he won't settle for any mockery and will do anything he pleases until the humiliation is remedied. This event also hints that MUZAN has unpleasant memories of his weaker, human past, and is very self-conscious of his unnaturally sickly appearance, immediately following his own rhetorical questioning with a lengthy denial that he is unhealthy, sick, and much less on the verge of death, in all likelihood a bitter reminder that he is still imperfect. When he confronts Kagaya Ubuyashiki, the man responded to MUZAN in a tone of pity and sadness for the life he had led. However, MUZAN only interpreted his words as insults and threats, which further accentuates his hatred for humanity and the demon slayers. He also believes that heaven has let him off the hook for murdering thousands, as he has never seen a god or Buddha. The most prominent trait MUZAN possesses is extreme narcissism, pettiness, and an obsession with becoming the perfect being. As he has had over 1,000 years to live and observe, along with hardly any real challenges, his extreme egocentrism is almost expected. He considers almost nothing to be his concern except overcoming his inability to walk in the sun, which is his primary drive. His long life and obsessions have caused him to want every plan he concocts to be absolutely perfect, and his superiority complex prevents him from seeing his own failures. His belief that he is the closest thing to a perfect being causes him to have zero tolerance for any failure, brutally punishing those who fail him or those he considers weak, even if the failures are minor. Furthermore, his delusional sense of omnipotence is such that he compares himself to natural disasters, namely something that is far beyond what humans can compare to and fight against. As a result of this, he believes the demon slayers to be a group of deviants who cannot accept the natural order of things and resume their lives as normal when other people simply move ahead following a tragedy. His analogy evidences his complete inability to feel sympathy or remorse for his actions, given that none of the murders he ever committed, directly or indirectly, were the result of an accident but carefully orchestrated acts of pure evil. Being the obsessive perfectionist he is, MUZAN loathes the very concept of change, be it change of circumstance, physical, emotional, or change of any kind. He equates change to decay, and thus evidence of imperfection. In his own words, he loves things that remain unchanging, constant, and in a state of permanence. At the same time, he views one's own humanity as a sign of weakness, believing Jutaro had lost because he was still attached to his sister Daki, and he even derided the upper ranks by stating that they were now ranked in order of how much humanity they had left. Jutaro's defeat at the hand of the demon slayers deeply angered MUZAN, as they had undone a status quo that lasted for 113 years, causing him to lash out and demand more self-sacrifice out of the remaining upper ranks. This could also explain his brutal execution of the lower ranks demons, as the echelon was in a constant state of change due to their frequent deaths, eventually causing MUZAN to believe that maintaining the positions was no longer worthwhile. Conversely, he is pleased whenever he sees any amount of progress that may benefit him, as he uncharacteristically complimented Nakime for her rapid growth after being turned into the new upper rank 4. Behind the myriad of facades he displays, and completely offsetting his insatiable ego and lust for perfection, MUZAN is unbelievably cowardly. He always seeks to avoid conflict whenever possible, and his refusal to confront an unpleasant situation was most evident in his encounter with Ju Tomioka and Tanjiro Kamado. He stated that the duo managing to survive should already be sufficient for them, telling them they should accept that the people he has killed will not come back, and they should instead live to earn their wages and put a halt to the cycle of revenge. This trait also complements his manipulative nature, bending many demons to his will to do his bidding while he doesn't get his hands dirty. In the final confrontation between him and the demon slayers, MUZAN attempted numerous times to escape, either by attempting to split himself or merely running away, even demanding multiple times for the remaining demon slayers to just give up fighting and die, once again cementing his cowardly nature. He has shown himself to be very manipulative and cunning, being able to blend in human society normally, even having a family of his own to add. A long life and continued practice has allowed him to take on many roles in society and play them capably, including children and women should he choose to. This life has also given him great intelligence and the ability to think tactically. Being a quick thinker and strategist enables MUZAN to be able to deal with unfavorable situations rapidly and successfully, though this may also be because the loss of his subordinates means nothing to him in the long run. Because of his perceived superiority and his double-faced nature, he feels no attachment to his henchmen, using them and discarding them as disposable pawns whenever he sees fit. Additionally, he does not allow his subordinates to question him, regularly enacting brutal and ruthless punishments should they do so. Many of his subordinates, in turn, are deeply afraid of him and measure their words and thoughts carefully for fear of saying anything that may displease him. In spite of this, he is able to sway many demons to his side with promises of power, revenge, and grandeur so long as they serve him. His intelligence and manipulation shine here, since many find the promises appealing, as he encounters many of his subordinates at their lowest point, when their emotions are easy fodder for him. In the end, all of these promises are ultimately false, given that MUZAN only cares about himself and has no qualms about killing his own subordinates to protect his own safety. However, despite his infinite cruelty, even to his own subordinates, MUZAN can allow for leniency should a demon fall into favor with him. Notable examples include allowing Rue to weaken himself by sharing his own power with other demons in order to form a family, and giving Akaza permission to not eat women, even though he personally disagreed with both of their choices. When not hiding behind a facade, his sheer malice and overflowing violent intent are so incredibly malignant, they can be perceived by others. Most notably, Yurichi Tsujikuni described him as being like boiling magma erupting from a volcano, ready to consume everything. In the anime, the extent of his rage is visible during the upper ranks meeting, where the many glasses and flasks he was working with all broke apart and exploded into thousands of pieces due to MUZAN's boiling frustration over being unable to achieve his goals, his fury greatly intimidating the upper ranks. Beyond his egocentric demeanor lies a sense of self-preservation that easily overrides his megalomania, most notably shown by his act of cursing his subordinates in a terrifying manner so that none of them would even utter his name, or else be killed instantly in a ruthless manner. When pushed into a corner, MUZAN's typically calm, arrogant, and superior stance collapses, paving the way for panic and fear to take root as he desperately fights for his life, adopting more drastic measures to protect himself. This obsession with survival could well explain MUZAN's brutal homicide of 3 civilians after his first encounter with Tanjiro. Both times he was reminded of the 2 major events where he nearly lost his life, namely his life coming close to ending before his treatment took effect and when Yurichi overpowered and nearly killed him. Regardless of MUZAN's personal faults, he has repeatedly shown a very notable fondness for both high fashion and higher learning. Whenever shown outside battle, he comes in the appearance of an extremely well-dressed individual. In his Tsukihiko guise he dresses in a fedora and suit. On an interesting note, his wife, Rei, is shown in a cloche hat and elegant dress, hinting that he enjoys himself living in wealth and luxury. Adding to this is the fact that MUZAN is also known to sell gyakos pots, which can fetch a high price. In his Tashikuni guise, he wears button-up pants and a dress shirt, and is shown doing a great deal of personal studying. During the upper ranks meeting, he was casually mixing various chemicals showing he had an expertise in chemistry, more than likely to create a medicine in order to improve his demonic physiology to conquer the sun and or not need to consume flesh and blood. Later, upon his defeat and final moments, as he burned away due to his exposure to the sun, MUZAN showed a much more vulnerable side to his personality as he slowly disintegrated to ash and lamented on his life and choices. It is revealed that MUZAN's true fear of dying and immense desire to live and survive was due to him being born dead, where his heart would constantly stop in his mother's womb and was assumed stillborn until he fought to breathe before his cremation. MUZAN's desire for life and his near-constant struggles while human constructed his obsessive ambition to survive, and he truly felt vulnerable whenever he was reminded of his human frailty. However, even when on the brink of death, he remains utterly unrepentant of murdering and eating humans for 1,000 years, stating that he could not remember a single person he had killed. However, as MUZAN reflects on his life while dying from sunlight, he He came to understand and accept Kagaya Ubuyashiki's words to him on the fact that everything inevitably dies and the only true, immortal, thing in the world are someone's emotions, feelings, and memories. This realization brings MUZAN to tears and genuinely moves his heart, causing him to ironically adopt Yorichi and Kagaya's belief and focus on leaving something behind in order to truly become immortal. As the Demon King, the first and the progenitor of his kind, MUZAN is the strongest demon in existence. Even after dissolving a drug that was supposed to weaken his powers and turn him back into a human, MUZAN easily annihilated close to 100 demon slayers in a short period of time effortlessly. In his bout with a marked Ju Tomioka and Tanjiro Kamado, the former stated that an upper-rank strength is incomparable to MUZAN's, while the latter was unable to even follow his attacks and could only dodge by pure instinct. After Tanjiro got close to the Demon King, MUZAN nonchalantly slashed out Tanjiro's eye, and he later stated that his attacks were too fast for him to detect through smell. After unleashing whips in his back to fight with, MUZAN massacred dozens more demon slayers and was stated to be too fast for Abanai Iguro, who remarked that he couldn't continuously breathe even with the assistance of Ju and Mitsuri Kenroji and was constantly being damaged by the Demon King's attacks. As MUZAN's attacks got fiercer and faster, even a marked Jyomiai Himejima was pressed back by his attacks, while Mitsuri was completely unable to see his attacks in the first place, being forced to dodge based on pure luck and instinct, eventually getting overpowered and severely wounded by MUZAN's whips. Abanai also remarked that to buy even 1 second for Dawn to arrive against the Demon King, the Demon Slayer Corps would have to sacrifice the lives of numerous demon slayers, further exemplifying his immense power. Even with the arrival of Kaneo Tsuyuri, Zenitsu Agatsuma, and Inosuke Hashibara to assist the current combatants and gain a momentary advantage, their monumental efforts were wiped out when MUZAN unleashed hidden whips along his thighs that were even faster, allowing him to completely overwhelm Ju, Jyomiai, Sanemi, Abanai, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Kaneo, even if the former 4 were marked and the latter 3 were initially hidden and had the element of surprise. Moreover, Jyomiai's leg was slashed off and Ju's right arm was severed, while the others were severely injured from the attack with the exception of Kaneo, who was nonetheless left paralyzed with fear in the face of such ferocious strength. When Tanjiro, who had mastered sun breathing after observing the movements from the strongest demon slayer in existence and saved Kaneo by slashing off MUZAN's arm, had arrived to face him, the two were able to trade blows with each other. Even when the effects of the aging drug started becoming significant and Abanai quickly recovering to assist Tanjiro, the latter stated that the Demon King is still extremely strong despite the drugs making the Demon Slayer's attacks effective and his once endless vitality becoming depleted in trying to decompose it. After being driven into a corner, he unleashed a new technique which overwhelmed and incapacitated both Abanai and Tanjiro. Furthermore, despite his draining stamina and the drugs weakening him, the Demon King could hold off the combined strength of Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Tanjiro together by himself. As dawn arrived and Tanjiro had pinned MUZAN to a wall to prevent him from escaping, the Demon King unleashed a shockwave that blew off the Demon Slayer's arm and overpowered Sanemi, Mitsuri, and Abanai in the process. As a last-ditch attempt at escape, MUZAN made his flesh swell immensely, exponentially increasing his size in order to protect himself from the sunlight. In this state, it took the combined might of all the Demon Slayer Corps to keep him from escaping and bring an end to the Demon King once and for all. However, Jyomiai, Mitsuri, Abanai, and Tanjiro were killed in the confrontation, while the rest of the combatants were left fatigued and heavily injured. Despite this, MUZAN still managed to pass on his blood and will to the deceased Tanjiro, reviving him as the new Demon King. Genius intellect. Having lived for over a millennia and gained further experience from the telepathic link with demons he controls, MUZAN is extremely clever and erudite. Since he has 5 fully functioning brains, it would most likely boost his intelligence and other mental capabilities such as memory and cognitive processing. He was able to evade the Demon Slayer Corps for nearly 1,000 years despite the leaders of the Corps, the Ubuyashiki family possessing great foresight and intuition, and he has also used demons to create distractions somewhere far away when he wants to hide something from the Corps. Even as a recently transformed demon, he was skilled at reading the negative emotions of others and was able to manipulate his 5 wives into committing suicide. MUZAN was shown to manipulate them to do his bidding without them realizing at all, such as compelling Susumaru to fight by convincing her she was a member of the 12 Kazuki or encouraging Daki to kill Nezuko Kamado by swaying her with words. MUZAN is also a master at multiple fields of science, like chemistry and possibly biology, experimenting with chemicals to try to find a cure to conquer to Sun. He also enjoys importing goods, learning foreign languages, and studying newly invented machines. Finally, MUZAN was able to impersonate rich and influential individuals regardless of gender or age and blend in with human society to create networks for information gathering and to secure funding using the different identities he assumed, without the humans he commands and manipulates being aware he is a demon at all. He was also shown to possess great intellect in battle. He utilizes his shapeshifting ability to create numerous mouths on his arm whips in order to drag his targets towards him, quickly devour human flesh to recover quickly, and to drain his targets of stamina. Tanjiro also states that MUZAN is a creature that is constantly changing, allowing him strike in an unexpected way. This was shown when he suddenly changes his attack pattern and unleash whips on his thighs to attack his opponents from their blind spots and instantly overpower him. When being driven into a corner by Tamayo's drugs, MUZAN utilizes a completely new attack to instantly incapacitate Abanai and Tanjiro. Lastly, when Tanjiro pins MUZAN to a wall with his arms slashed off by Sanemi and Mitsuri, MUZAN contorts his facial features, causing his mouth to gape in an attempt to bit Tanjiro's head off. Biological absorption. MUZAN has displayed the ability to absorb, assimilate and dissolve organic and inorganic objects. This was first seen when MUZAN absorbed the flesh seeds that pierced his skin in order to nullify its effects. Later, he also accidentally absorbed Tamayo's arm as well as a drug that turns demons back into humans. This is also seen in how he planned to eat and assimilate Nezuko Kamadu to obtain her immunity to the sun. He is also seen absorbing the bodies of Kaminu and Mukago during the lower ranks meeting. Combat form. In his final confrontation with the Demon Slayer Corps, MUZAN adopts a more monstrous and battlesque form, with a dark red scale-like mask covering most of his body, prominently on his limbs, his forehead, and the entirety of his lower body, sharp-toothed wide mouths all over of his body, and longer pale white hair. The sharp-toothed jaws located all over his body in this form not only serve as his main form of offense in battle, but also have the purpose of helping him recover faster since he can use the jaws to tear apart his opponents and eat their flesh, simultaneously killing his opponents and regaining his strength at the same time. Arm whips. MUZAN can drastically elongate both his arms, growing spiky red or white coverings around his extended limbs and shape-shifting his hands into bladed protrusions, which he swings like whips to slash apart his targets. Each of these whips range from 90 centimeters, 3 feet, to 10 meters, 32.8 feet, in length. When swung with the intent to kill, they were extremely fast, precise, and accurate, with even the extremely powerful Yorichi Tsujikuni remarking that seeing them nearly hit him was the first time he had ever felt fear, and that even a single scratch could kill him. He can also rotate his arm whips at immense speeds to slice up anyone caught in its area of attack. Due to their extreme range and lack of set shape and length, it is very difficult for his opponents to discern how he will attack. MUZAN can also increase their width and size even further, even growing jaws all over his arm whips to bite his targets in combination with slashing at them. Mouth suction. MUZAN's arm whips also possess numerous mouths full of sharp fangs all throughout them. MUZAN mainly uses these mouths to inhale with immense suction strength, causing anyone near it to be sucked into its sharp jaws and be slashed apart. This also further increases his attack range. These abnormal mouths will prove severely impeding for his targets as avoiding them will consume a lot more stamina. Back whips. Upon arriving outside the Infinity Castle, MUZAN grew 9 thin extensions, each of 4 meters, 13 feet, in length, akin to spine-like protrusions from his back that extend into bladed whips. With these, MUZAN is able to increase the number of attacks he can unleash in a single moment, allowing him to massacre dozens of demon slayers in an instant and hold back the combined power of 5 Hashira. Furthermore, they are fast and getting a read on their trajectory is difficult, making it unpredictable. Thigh whips. After the demon slayers started to gain the upper hand, MUZAN unleashed 8 new whips, 4 on each side of his thigh, each of them 7 meters, 23 feet, in length, to easily overpower them. MUZAN was able to accomplish this since unlike his back whips, they are much quicker and can be projected from his body and retracted. This also allows him to attack from his target's blind spots, making it extremely difficult to counter. These thigh whips alone were able to overpower 4 marked Hashira and 3 Hashira-level demon slayers in a single attack. Absolute regeneration. As the Demon King, MUZAN possesses the fastest and most advanced regeneration out of all demons, recovering so fast that it appears as if the attacks phased through him and he was never injured in the first place. He displayed his flawless regenerative ability on multiple occasions. Most prominently, MUZAN has overcome the weakness of decapitation by Nichiren swords, as shown when he completely regenerated his head moments after it was pulverized by Gyomei's spiked flail. After being caught in a huge explosion orchestrated by Kagaya Ubuyashiki, MUZAN was able to instantly regenerate his body after having it been damaged extensively, and also manages to circumvent the metal spikes added into the explosion meant to slow down his healing speed. Later, in his battle against Abanai, Mitsuri and Ju, they landed multiple slashes on the Demon King, but to seemingly no avail as MUZAN had regenerated the moment his body was sliced, making it seem like their attacks did not land in the first place. Additionally, his regenerative power was still functional even when he got cut by the Hashira with their bright red Nichiren swords, albeit the recovery process was slower than usual. MUZAN's greatest feat involving his regeneration was when he completely regrew his body from a lump of flesh the size of a human's head, even after being slashed apart by Yoriichi Tsujikuni's bright red Nichiren sword that burned him at a cellular level. Furthermore, MUZAN stated himself that normal bright red Nichiren swords and slashing attacks wouldn't have an effect on him due to his advanced regenerative ability. Transformative blood. After the experimental treatment gave him a new body and physiology, MUZAN's blood develops special mutagenic properties that can transform humans into creatures known as demons. His special blood also seems to give rise to a plethora of special abilities to those that assimilated his blood, such as powerful and quick regeneration, the power to control their flesh, immortality, an accelerated growth rate, enhanced physical prowess, and even supernatural abilities called blood demon arts. MUZAN can also further empower a demon by giving more of his blood, enhancing their pre-existing abilities. However, this is limited to how much blood the recipient can withstand and adapt to. If a human were to take in too much blood from MUZAN, their body would mutate faster than they can withstand, causing them to self-destruct into one giant mass of flesh before disintegrating into ash. The same would also presumably happen to a demon if they couldn't withstand the blood's effects, as implied by MUZAN. Later, it was revealed that MUZAN has learned to weaponize this particular trait of his blood. By coating his whips with his blood, he can inject an opponent with his blood when they get damaged. The blood's high potency means that even small dosages would be too much to handle and instead act like a poison to destroy the human body's cells shortly after they enter. It is later implied by Kokoshibo that users of total concentration breathing resist the effects of MUZAN's blood more than normal humans. Those that have awakened the Demon Slayer mark resist the blood's cellular destruction effects even more, though it was stated by MUZAN himself that it won't take more than 5 minutes for their bodies to disintegrate. Blood memory transfer. In his final struggle for survival, MUZAN is able to transfer the remainder of his blood along with his memories into a suitable body, turning his new host into a demon and exerting his influence. He successfully did this with Tanjiro when he was on the verge of death, reviving him after his death. Furthermore, this technique also allows the host to transfer their abilities, as seen when Tanjiro makes use of MUZAN's whips and regeneration. This transfer, however, is not perfect as Tanjiro was reduced to a feral state, only attacking based on MUZAN's desire to kill the demon slayers. This ability is also known to have been unknowingly used by MUZAN whenever he created another demon or shared his blood with them, as seen when the upper ranks, Daki and Hantengu, were able to catch glimpses of MUZAN's memories of Yoriichi Tsujikuni during their battles against Tanjiro Kamado. Consciousness implantation. MUZAN can implant a part of his consciousness into a demon he creates using his blood, provided that he injected them with gigantic amounts of his blood during their creation. As seen where a sliver of his mind was still present inside Tanjiro's mind despite having already been killed by sunlight, and later attempted to sway, control, and coax Tanjiro into inheriting his will and stay as a demon. However, a clear difference between his power to control a demon and to possess him is the fact that he could no longer forcibly take control of a demon and force them to do as he wills, and instead he must convince them to do his bidding, giving his victims the chance to resist him and escape from his grasp. Demon manipulation. MUZAN can control demons to a certain extent, as seen when he was able to take control of Nakaim's body in order to try to force an absorption of Yashiro's cells in order to stop his interference when he attempted to usurp control of the Infinity Castle. However, this ability requires extensive concentration, as MUZAN immediately lost control of her the moment he lost focus due to needing to defend himself while in the middle of battle. Other demons can also wrestle control back from him. Kibutsuji's curse. MUZAN places a curse on all demons that have assimilated his blood. If any demon divulges his last name, Kibutsuji, out loud, the curse activates, which causes their bodies to stop regenerating and allowing MUZAN cells inside the demon to take over and kill them, regardless of their original intent. This was seen with Susumaru, who had accidentally said his name despite having no malice or ill intent towards him and was still destroyed by the curse, implying that the curse is automatic. However, the curse can also be intentionally triggered by MUZAN. This was seen when he killed Nakime, who was manipulated by Yashiro. Because of this, many demons regard MUZAN with great fear and respect, simply referring to him as that man or him in order to not trigger the curse, while demons within the 12 Kazuki refer to him as Lord or Master. However, it has been proven that if MUZAN is weakened or someone has sufficient willpower, demons can break free from the curse, which has been seen with Tamayo, Yashiro, and Nezuko. Demon memory access. MUZAN can see the memories of demons he absorbed, as seen when he was able to ask Tamayo cells that he had obtained upon absorbing her for information on what kind of drug she had injected into him. Upon being denied and insulted by Tamayo surviving consciousness, he also showcased the ability to forcibly reveal the desired information by watching her memories, as seen when he was able to see her memories of her developing the drug together with Shinobu Kocho and Yashiro. Demon power nullification. As explained by Tamayo, as the creator and progenitor of the demon race, MUZAN is the only known demon capable of inflicting life-threatening wounds, capable of completely destroying the cells of other demons without the need of Nichiren swords or sunlight. This was shown when he punished Akaza by causing his cells to decay all throughout his body without the upper rank being able to regenerate from it like he would with any other injury. Telepathy. MUZAN has the ability to read the thoughts of those that he has shared his blood with by looking at them. Later, it was shown that he could also send telepathic messages and have full conversations with other demons as well, as seen when he appeared in Akaza's mind to convince him to continue fighting, as well as communicating with Kokushibo to check how many Hashira he had defeated and to order him to keep them at bay until he finished recovering from Tamayo's poison. MUZAN has also stated he can sense the location of all demons. However, the further away they are from him, the harder it will be for him to interact and track them. MUZAN is also able to see through the senses of other demons. However, this ability is limited strictly to what is in their perception, so if a demon's senses are fooled, MUZAN is unable. Immeasurable speed and reflexes. MUZAN is unfathomably fast, possessing movement speed and reflexes that far surpass even the upper ranks of the 12 Kazuki. His immense speed was first displayed in the lower rank meeting, where MUZAN decapitated a fleeing Wakuraba from a great distance, and even returned to his original position before Wakuraba even processed what had happened. Later, he decapitated his pretend mother when he was in his child form without the maid beside her even realizing what had happened. After awakening from his flesh cocoon, MUZAN instantly annihilated dozens of demon slayers before they had the chance to react. Additionally, MUZAN was so fast that Tanjiro Kamado, who could keep up with Akaza, and Mitsuri Kanroji, who could keep up with Zohakuten, couldn't even perceive his attacks and could only rely on pure luck and instinct to evade them. He was also able to constantly damage and outspeed Ju, Abanai, and Mitsuri, and later Gyomei, Sanemi, who both kept up with Kokushibo, Zenitsu, who blitzed Kaigaku, Inosuke, and Kaneo, who both battled Doma. After being driven into a corner, MUZAN unleashed hidden thigh whips so fast that all the aforementioned demon slayers, with the exception of an already injured Mitsuri, were completely unable to react in time and were easily overpowered and injured. Immeasurable strength. As the Demon King, MUZAN's physical strength is superior to that of all demons in existence. Even the likes of the strongest among the 12 Kazuki, such as Akaza, who can tear through buildings with his bare fists and punch a Nichiren sword to pieces, Doma, who could form veritable blizzards by waving his fans at high speed, and Kokushibo, who wields an immense katana in a manner that is imperceptible to even marked demon slayers, all paled in comparison to MUZAN. His immense physical strength is first shown when he casually killed a grown man with a single punch to the face, causing him to fly back, hitting a building and causing cracks in it. He also managed to kill a bigger man by simply kicking him. Even after being significantly weakened by the anti-Kibutsuji drugs, he still possessed enough physical strength to destroy huge sections of buildings, create massive craters in the ground and lift the debris of buildings that trapped him with relative ease. In his infant form, he could crush vehicles and could only be held down by the combined efforts of Gyomei Himejima, the Hashira with the greatest physical strength, and dozens of other Kakushi, and still had trouble keeping him from moving. The force he exerted was also able to break Gyomei's chain, which even Kokushibo's katana could not sever. Unlimited stamina and endurance. Like all demons, MUZAN possesses infinite stamina and endurance, never getting tired nor feeling any pain. This was shown when he didn't flinch nor show signs of pain or agony when his head was pierced by a sword. Even after getting slashed and pierced by the bright red Nichiren swords of the Hashira, which was shown to cause pain to even Kokushibo, MUZAN didn't show any signs of discomfort. The only time MUZAN showed any evidence of exhaustion was during the latter stages of the final confrontation against him, but even then, The drug developed by Tamayo and Shinobu had been in effect for almost 5 hours and his body was biologically aged by over 9,000 years. Despite this, he continued to press on and hold the advantage while pushing the demon slayers to the brink of death. Extrasensory perception. MUZAN possesses extremely acute senses that even allow him to perceive things outside the normal range of perception, which he displayed by easily discerning the presence of humans instantly even when they were scattered all around a mountain and detecting the wounded demon slayers regaining consciousness despite being far away from them. This was also shown when MUZAN was able to discern the locations of Zenitsu, Kaneo and Inosuke with great accuracy solely by the dust clouds rising and the sounds that they produced. Whip proficiency. Despite not being trained in combat like most members from the 12 Kazuki, MUZAN is nonetheless proficient in battle, having fought countless demon slayers over his 1,000-year-long existence. When fighting, MUZAN utilizes bladed and flexible whips as his main form of attack. However, instead of using his flesh to form a weapon, MUZAN instead contorts his own body to project said whips, giving him the added advantage of manipulating its shape and controlling the trajectory of his whips at will. Initially, he contorts his arms into whips and uses it to strike his targets from afar while he remains stationary. He later grew a total of 9 whips from his back to increase the number of attacks he can unleash at once. Upon being cornered, MUZAN further increases the amount of whips he uses by growing 8 whips in total, with 4 on each thigh, to strike his opponents in their blind spots in addition to it being retractable. While using his whips, MUZAN also employs several strategies to increase his efficiency in combat, such as rotating his arm whips at immense speed similar to a tornado or extending his arm whip into the ground and attack his target from below. Biokinesis. MUZAN's blood demon art grants him powerful biokinetic abilities, most prominently the ability to manipulate his body at will and shapeshift instantly. Although all demons have the innate ability to manipulate their flesh, MUZAN takes it to a new level, possessing the ability to change his appearance, flesh, and organs at an unparalleled level of speed and precision. This was first shown during the lower rank meeting where he took on the appearance and aura of an adult female which fooled the lower ranks. He later contorted his left arm into a large, grotesque, and monstrous appendage with numerous mouths and eyes, which he used to kill and consume the lower ranks. Afterwards, MUZAN uses this ability to take on the appearance of a child to attain a new disguise amongst humans, even selectively shifting the color of his eyes when talking to Akaza. During the battle inside the Infinity Castle, MUZAN turned into a gigantic flesh cocoon in order to dissolve the poison that turns him back into a human. After emerging from the cocoon, MUZAN took on a more battle-esque form and grew jaws all over his body to quickly kill and consume demon slayers to recover strength. When in combat, MUZAN utilizes extremely long and flexible distorted whip-like appendages that are as sharp as swords to attack his opponents. He was shown to be able to grow whips on his arms, back, and thighs and can freely manipulate their movements and shape at will. Additionally, he can also grow mouths on these whips and create a huge suction effect from them to drag his targets towards them to slice them apart. MUZAN can also contort his torso into a giant beastly mouth to release a shockwave energy-like blast from it. Furthermore, he can distort his mouth and cause it to gape extremely widely, growing sharp teeth all over his face in an attempt to bite Tanjiro's head off. His biokinetic abilities are advanced to the point that he can create puppets of flesh and command them. MUZAN also has a very unique anatomy which he achieved by manipulating and altering his own bodily properties. Possessing the grand total of 7 hearts and 5 brains, these extra organs seemingly are largely responsible for the majority of his abnormally powerful constitution and his resistance to decapitation by Nichiren swords. Conversely, should many of them be destroyed simultaneously, he would be significantly weakened. He can also split himself into over 1,000 pieces in order to escape and later reattach pieces of his split body to regenerate completely. After dawn breaks and being pinned by Tanjiro, MUZAN, in a panic, made his flesh swell to the point he resembled that of a gigantic infant in an attempt to protect his main body from being burned by the sun. This form was shown to possess immense physical strength and durability due to its sheer size, as seen as MUZAN was not damaged by a falling bookshelf and 2 cars ramming straight into his body. He could also crush cars with his bare hands and withstand the force of a bus pushed by numerous Kikuchi. MUZAN's last name contains the Goanyomi reading of the kanji for demon, the Kanonyomi for dance, and the Kikuji Suji. His first contains the Goan and Kanyoanyomi reading for miserable, pitiful, merciless. MUZAN's first name can also be a play on the words for 6 and 3, hence, the official Kimetsu no YAIBA Twitter account refers to June 3 as MUZAN Day. MUZAN was both born and become a demon in the Heian era during the early 900s. MUZAN was ranked in 11th place in first character popularity poll for the series, with 285 votes. After becoming a demon, MUZAN settled down with 5 different women throughout the Heian period. However, because of his lack of empathy and sensitivity as a demon, he verbally abused all 5 of his wives to the point it drove them all to commit suicide. The Ubuyashiki family are descendants of MUZAN's original blood relatives, who, due to the family having birthed the original demon, were cursed with an unknown incurable and untreatable recessive genetic disease that has killed each and every family member, both past and present, before they could reach the age of 30. Later, upon his defeat and death, it is revealed that this curse was successfully removed from the Ubuyashiki clan as Kagaya's son, Kariya Ubuyashiki, had successfully lived a full life, even surviving to become the oldest living person in Japan by the time of the modern era. MUZAN is the only villain character who appears in the cover page of the manga volumes 2 and 22. MUZAN took the form of a woman before so that he can investigate and search for the blue spider lily. Thank you for watching my humble video. If you liked it, subscribe, like and share the video. See you next time.